we're going to get a recommendation to move it to rec. It's going to be signed into law. There will be some lawsuits. They'll try to go through the courts to the Supreme Court to put it back. They're going to lose because at this point, we have two administrations, Republican and Democrat. From the top, the president, we have the HHS, the FDA, the DEA, the DOJ, four big federal agencies all saying move it to Schedule 3. And when they opened it up for public comment back in 2024, there were 50,000 comments and 93% were to move it over. So the losing battle for the other side, and that's good news. Hey everybody, I'm just going to go ahead and start dumping in the latest news stories. The big news of July and really for all this year is rescheduling news. So if we remember the timeline, December, Trump executive order to the AG, hey, finish this long rescheduling process that started back under Biden administration with HHS approving move cannabis Schedule 3 with legal medicine by the FDA approving it. And the administration switched and nothing happened. Trump issued an executive order. This is really where times were both traditionally been a Democratic movement more than Republicans, but now to have a Republican president as well pushing the movement is a knee thing. And Pam Bondi ignored that order and she got fired, and Todd Blanche came in immediately in April, moved medical cannabis, which is legal. Medical cannabis is legal in 46 states. It's found Schedule 3, signed it, DOJ and the DEA, to permanently move it to Schedule 3, which is real medicine. It's no longer a criminal drug. Huge news. The biggest news, in my opinion, in this century in cannabis. Many people missed it, and they don't see what becomes of that. Medical marijuana now is not subject to 280E tax. That means the entire industry will now get about a 25% improvement for cash flow in the bottom line, which is a big deal for cannabis investors, owners, and lenders. And so that's why we're already seeing this industry. A lot of new capital already coming in. We're going to see new startups. So that was good news. Now, they also, in that April order, said, hey, we want the ALJ to hold a hearing in June to July 15th, which is now done. And I'll post some of those stories to move all marijuana, recreational marijuana and medical marijuana, over to Schedule 3. So that hearing is now over. The hearing was basically, there were two sides, and this is interesting. I'll post these stories on the chat. The kind of for and against. The for side was put on by the DEA and DOJ. So they were saying, coming to the judge and saying, hey, all marijuana is marijuana. There's no such thing as medical and recreationally. Medical rec just describes how patients get access to it. It has nothing to do with the plant. And even the DEA and the judge asked Dartmouth PhD scientist, how do you define medical marijuana? And he said right there on the record, there's no such thing. There is simply marijuana sativa L. That is the marijuana plant. It is one thing. So from a chemist's viewpoint, marijuana is marijuana. So either it all belongs to Schedule 1 or Schedule 3. Can't say part of it is Schedule 1, part of Schedule 3. So there's pushing out. We have anti-cannabis groups saying, oh yeah, whatever, it's not good for teenagers or pregnant women, which is the same with all medicines and alcohol. We don't want to give it to kids, or it has nothing to do with whether or not cannabis has a recognized medical use. So anyway, we're waiting till now, August 17th, and I'll toss a couple more of these. We're going to allow time for closing arguments August 17th. Then that judge will make a recommendation. It's not an order. It's a recommendation to the DEA, who actually put on the pro side. So the DEA, no matter what the recommendation is, can do what they want, which I think is going to be moving cannabis fully to rec. But I think the judge is actually going to recommend that as well. So we're going to get a recommendation to move it to rec. It's going to be signed into law. There will be some lawsuits. They'll try to go through the courts to the Supreme Court to put it back. They're going to lose because at this point, we have two administrations, Republican and Democrat. From the top, the president, we have the HHS, the FDA, the DEA, and DOJ, four big federal agencies all saying move it to Schedule 3. And when they opened it up for public comment back in 2024, there were 50,000 comments and 93% were to move it over. So the losing battle for the other side, and that's good news. People, 8 out of 10 Americans want and are using this anyway, whether it's illegal or legal or medical or rec. And so the governments might as well tax it if they're going to use it as well. Now there's a lot of push. We're going to have a couple of these stories about rescheduling is not enough. Let's fully deschedule. There is now a new bill in Congress. So Congress is outside the rescheduling process, but they can do whatever they want. And if Congress reintroduced the MORE Act, which fully legalizes, decriminalizes, takes cannabis all the way off the schedules. And then we have a situation where cannabis can have our simple, it's just alcohol. Regulate the state. You have an IP, you pay 20%, but then do it flood, and it's legal. That's coming very soon, in my opinion. I just tossed in this history of cannabis legalization. It's a great read, so check that out. Here's another one. I said at this point in the cannabis journey, you cannot find a human being. That's why President Trump said this. The judge said this. I say it. You, whoever you are that I'm talking to, you know somebody that is using cannabis for medicine. Your aunt, your mom, your sister, you, for arthritis or pain or cancer or 100 other things. They're using it right now. And this study backs up with 80% of healthcare professionals believe medical decision prescribe it. I went in next and last to my doctor. She knows nothing about what I do. And she prescribed me a muscle relaxer, but then she said, have you tried any mixtures of THC and CBD? It's for your butt. She said, I'm finding a lot of patients that helps. And so again, this is everywhere. It's not going backward. People want it for good reason. We're seeing states jump in as well. There's one of Kansas. I think we're the few states that are pulling out. They're not going to that much longer because they see the writing on the wall that any state where it is illegal, say Texas or Kansas or Idaho, they just drive over the border to the other state and the people get their medicine. Here's the August 17th deadline. I'm going to toss in here. Here is another one. This is from Moritz College of Law, a deeper dive. If you want to go into all the deeper dive. Here's another from Rachel Gillette. He's been on our podcast a couple of times. Real good cannabis attorney. And kind of this whole idea didn't make common sense. Again, the Schedule 1 to 5 were put in place by the DEA to say for any chemical, LSD, heroin, there's a chemical, which schedule does it belong on? It can't be on 2. It just says which a chemical is. There's definitions for each schedule. They get easier and easier as you go out. And the chemical is a chemical, and it belongs on one of them. If it's going to be a dangerous regulated drug, and for it to say that cannabis belongs on 2 schedules makes literally no common sense. It is one plant. It's been one plant for millions of years, and that ain't changing. That teeny drop by 50% of sexual utilization at the 0%. It the studies like that on not just the medical side as well. And then here's a story on interstate commerce. So there's lots of other things going on right now. Safer banking, interstate commerce, uplisting the New York Stock Exchange, and global movement as well. So we're going to look back 10 years from now, and it's going to be the opposite of cigarettes. When back in the 80s, we all knew cigarettes were bad for us, but it was a 20-year battle to get the cigarette companies to agree to get laws passed where sick people are smoking in restaurants and airplanes and whatnot. This is the opposite. Everyone knows cannabis is good and legal medicine, non-addictive. No one dies from it like opiates. Yeah. 10 years from now, no one will question that. So anyway, have a great week and thanks for watching.